How can we help our soldiers, or how can we incorporate this idea of the moral justification of killing into our training? How can we help our soldiers before combat, while they're in combat, and after combat to help make sense of their experience of killing on behalf of their country? Beforehand, I think, hey, sit down and talk about the bubble theory, right? Or when it is intellectually how it is that someone forfeits the right not to be killed. Intellectually why in certain circumstances it's the morally right thing to do to use violence on another person. I think during training exercises, right? I mean, in an AAR, after action review, we'll talk about, hey, Sergeant, why'd you take your fire team this way instead of that way? We'll talk tactics, right? We could also integrate, hey, machine gun crew here, weapon squad, you engaged these people. Why? And have them answer not only tactically, right, but morally, right? Because when you're shooting someone, that inherently is a moral question. And have them answer, well, they were in enemy uniforms, or we saw them shooting at friendly troops, or we saw them about to execute some people, or whatever else it is. In doing so, they forfeited the right not to be killed. And so, in order to protect the innocent, it was the right thing for us to shoot them. Bam. And we can get people thinking that way. Just make it as an additional lens that informs all of our training. Because especially with civilians on the battlefield, and especially with people dressed as civilians on the battlefield who act as combatants, right? We want to really get used to thinking through the factors as to when we should use that authority to kill people on the battlefield. I think it's important after a soldier has killed to give them a chance to talk it through, to process it. Sometimes they'll need it right away, sometimes a little later. I think that leaders should, when that person, let's say they're pulling guard duty, a few days later, go out there with them at night and just sit down and bring up the topic and give them a safe place to talk about it. And even within your unit, there should be a culture in which we recognize, hey, killing is what we do in the profession of arms. It's a central part of what we do. We should be able to talk about it. Too often when people, because it's somewhat of a taboo topic, when people talk about it, it's almost in a joking way or with bravado. That's not healthy, right? That can lead to dehumanizing the enemy, and that's not required. We don't have to dehumanize the enemy in order to kill them. We can recognize them as human beings. We can recognize that they're doing bad things and making bad choices, and we had to kill them to protect the innocent, to win this war for the greater good, and also have a little bit of sadness about it, right? Like that doctor doing the amputation. You wish it didn't have to be that way, but since it has to be this way, our role here as defenders of the innocent, of our nation and all the good it's trying to do, we had to kill them. But let's recognize that it was the right thing to do, but there's also, in a sense, a sad thing that we had to do.